Judy, it can't make that much difference to you. I just want to see what you
No, I don't want any clothes. I don't want anything. I want to get out of here.
Judy, do this for me.
Here we are.
Yes, that's it.
I thought so.
I don't like it.
No, we'll take it. Will the thing fit?
Well, yes, it might need some slight alterations, but it's Madam's size. All right, dear. We'll have it for you to try on in a moment.
How long will the alterations take?
Well,
May we have it by tonight?
if it's absolutely necessary.
Yes, it is. Now, we'd like to look at a dinner dress, an evening dress, short, black with long sleeves and a kind of a square neck.
Scotty.
I certainly do know what you want, sir.
Episode 31 of the Cult of Matt and Mark Cult Film Review Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Mark.
And make sure to visit us at our website at cultfilmreview.blogspot.com.
Oh, and can they email us?
No. As we're both sort of lazy and time constrained, we haven't even bothered to get a podcast-specific email address together. But,
well, I think that it's because we don't really have much in the way of comments.
If we don't have many comments, then our incentive to put an email address up is even less.
Well, we could probably generate an email address that could just shoot us an email, forward us an email to.
Yeah, we could do that. Oh, that's such work, though.
We're going to have to hire some.
That's like
We're going to have to hire some sort of Java guru to program that.
Yeah, I think, some net specialist. I don't know.
Well, it's got to be Microsoft certified net specialist technician, too.
Yeah, right. Accepting applications pays 2.5 donuts a week.
2.5 donuts a week?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's rich for my blood.
So, this is sort of a timely review, I would say.
It's timely review?
Timely. Coincidental that we chose this film to review this week because the British Film Institute...
Alfred Hitchcock died this week.
Yeah, Alfred Hitchcock. Shit! It's like when Bob Hope died. I thought Bob Hope was dead for like a decade, and then I heard he died, and then I was like, shit, he was dead? Like, same with Elizabeth Taylor and Ernest Borgnine. I thought they were, like, dead to the world.
Oh, yeah, Ernest Borgnine died not long after we did one of his final films.
I thought he was long gone.
Oh, my God. We are the harbingers of death.
We're like that cat in a nursing home back in New England that goes and visits patients like a
I
half
know.
hour before
Somebody's
they
got
die.
to call Kim Novak, because she's about to croak. She got a star or something, or put her handprints in something down in Hollywood earlier this year.
Grauman's Chinese Theater.
Oh, yeah. Well,
this is her only acting role or something. There's some weird tidbit that she didn't star in much.
Did she not do a whole lot of work? Boy, she's pretty spry for 79.
Yeah, I saw that little DVD extra on the Vertigo.
Oh, I
film.
didn't. There was a real recent video of Kim
I think
Novak?
after its restoration, like 97, 98.
So they had an interview with her?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that.
Looking pretty young. But,
yeah, pretty well preserved. She had some plastic surgery, but I hope.
Who doesn't?
I hope I'm that spry when I'm 79.
Me too.
Not,
I hope I'm even alive.
Not missing both my feet from type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, I'm just alive. I've come to the idea that it's not how old you are that really matters; it's when you die that really matters. So, and it's just because you're 40. If you die at 50, then it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah, I guess that's
how old you are. No, the timeliness or the coincidence is that the British Film Institute released its list of top films of all times, and Citizen Kane was knocked down to second, replaced by Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo as the #1 film of all time.
That's right, BFI, the British Film Institute. Right?
BFI.
Yeah.
And
I've never heard of them, but I guess they're a rather prestigious film organization.
Well, I thought they would have loaded the dice anyway, because Hitchcock's a Brit.
Oh, he is? That shows you how much research I did for this film.
Orson Welles is a Yank.
Mm.
So I thought they would have long...
Well, I think this is... What do they say here on the article? I got the article here. Something like it's 846 different film-related experts.
That's a lot.
Vote in.
Are these all?
They only do it every 10 years.
Smoking Jacket.
They've done it for a long time.
Smoking Jacket and Brandy kind of film critics.
Yes, they say 846 white male critics, programmers, academics, and distributors.
All right. So
sounds like a pretty good cross-section of the populace.
Not two dopey white guys in the basement reviewing stuff online?
No.
All right. You know what? Though I'm like, thank God, because Citizen Kane bored the shit out of me, and I never liked it. Well, I never got through it.
I mean, you can see it. You can see the same thing. I think there's a little bit of, what people are raised with in the type of filmmaking sort of primes them for watching films. And you can see it with Vertigo. It's so much slower than modern films that, we were raised in the MTV video games generation.
MTV video games.
And it's slow. I mean, there was times where I yawned a few times in Vertigo. It's just my mind does not expect a shot to be held that long.
Yeah,
it doesn't expect this much pauses in between dialogue, and you got to work over that. And if you're just talking to some 22-year-old Yabo, he's never going to fight through that.
Technical detail: average shot length in Vertigo 6.7 seconds. So.
Yeah, and that must be a lot longer than modern days.
Like a Michael Bay film, which is on the millisecond scale of shots.
Well, like a good film. Let's talk about Coen Brothers' average cut time. We don't have that number here, but it's got to be shorter.
Yeah. And
it's got to be longer. In Citizen Kane, there was about a decade in between the two.
Right. Well,
I mean, there's modern film techniques in this movie. I mean, we got that push-pull that became famous.
That was actually
in this movie. I don't know
invented in this movie by, and I'm probably not going to be able to find the gentleman's name.
That shot was invented for this movie? It was
invented in this film.
Wow.
It's called, they call it the trombone.
But isn't it a push-pull?
It's a push-pull, and there's a few names for it in, I guess, different names for that technique. You call it push-pull. It's also been known as contra-zoom, or the trombone shot, and it was actually an uncredited second-unit cameraman, Ermin Roberts, who worked with Alfred Hitchcock, who invented this famous...
Okay. I mean, it's a pretty extreme example, but I guess that's how it comes out, because it's been used more subtly in other films, and rather quite nicely to be sort of a disturbing, real-time...
A vertiginous effect, as they would say.
Of what?
Vertiginous is...
Vertiginous what?
As somehow vertigo-inducing.
Oh, vertiginous. Can I play that in Words with Friends?
Yeah, go ahead. I gave up on Words with Friends. I don't know. People
got zealous. Man.
Well, people got zealous, and then they were cheating, and I was like, "Fuck it,
I'll destroy you."
Yeah, well,
and I'm a terrible speller. But that's what's great about Words with Friends. You can misspell it; doesn't matter.
Yeah, you just keep pushing letters until you get some really weird arcane word.
Yeah, that's part of the game.
That's just dumb. That's not the way Scrabble's played.
Well, you only. What do? If you put a word in there and it doesn't accept it, you pass because you failed.
No, you just put a word in there until it gets accepted. And then so you just start cramming fucked up letters together, and
you
like
don't
a
like
monkey.
the fact that you can play weird two-letter words just because it'll take it. You don't want people playing that way.
No, it's stupid. I give up.
All right, well then I don't think we enjoy playing each other.
No, I don't.
I like to get all tricky-dicky.
Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm done with Words with Friends. Anyway, so but they had actually constructed for that push zoom shot, constructed a scale model of the bell tower. And
so that was a scale model?
Scale model for the vertigo effect with the stairwell.
Oh, and did they set it on its side, I wonder?
Yeah, they did.
Because there were hands there. Were those fake hands? Those hands were the part that didn't move. Yeah. You see Jimmy Stewart's hands on the rail. And that's the part that stays still during this push-pull.
Sure.
Were those model hands?
No,
it wasn't that big of a scale. It was just a little small.
I'm not sure. And it was scale enough that you could just put a tracked camera inside of it and then move it as you're zooming out.
I bet they probably did it on its side. That would have been easier.
They did do it on its side.
Yeah, I could see.
And the DVD extra, I actually saw
the set.
That part of it, a picture of that.
Anyway. I should watch that. I looked at a couple of things. Yeah, sometimes I watch the extras and sometimes I don't.
I watched it.
I usually check a couple out, and if they're not, but they don't move me, I don't watch the rest of them.
There's kind of a lot of verbal masturbation from Martin Scorsese about Vertigo, and your typical sort of, I don't know.
And I thought it'd just be a bunch of people complaining about how Alfred Hitchcock was a dick.
Well, the greatest directors are dicks, I'm sure. So, I don't know. Alfred Hitchcock a dick? See if I didn't read enough about him. He
I
seems
heard
a
that
little.
He was real demanding.
Well,
guy.
but
Well,
yeah,
you'd expect that.
Right.
You didn't really care about people's feelings. It was all about how the film turned out.
yeah. Shitty directors aren't just like do the fuck whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a ad lib. We're doing a little improv. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no improv.
Well, let's.
Did we read the
No,
synopsis?
we're not even close. So
Okay.
let me read
Let's
this.
move this along, man. Come on.
One of Alfred Hitchcock's darkest and most compelling suspense films tells the story of police detective Scotty Ferguson, actually John Ferguson, but he goes by Scotty.
Is that because Ferguson's a Scottish name?
It's really, yeah, it's got to be, because that Scotty Ferguson is pretty goddamn Scottish sounding.
Okay.
Played by James Stewart. And Stewart, Scottish last name. Maybe James Stewart had a little Scottish heritage in him. Definitely doesn't have any kind of, it's all last name. That's all you can tell from James Stewart. Stewart's a Scottish
It's all American man. That's all I think about.
So Scotty Ferguson, who has a crippling fear of heights and an all-consuming obsession with a married woman, when an old friend asks him to tail his wife, played by Kim Novak, Scotty is drawn into a vortex of deceit and murder. But that's only the beginning, as a mesmerizing score draws Scotty to the film's haunting final shot. That's it. So,
Yeah, all right.
all right. So, little M. Night Shyamalan-esque. I mean, that's kind of it's M. Night Shyamalan is Hitchcock-esque.
Yeah. I mean, he sort of tries to put that sort of mystique forward.
But
we've talked about M. Night Shyamalan.
But there's
He gets a
no
bum rap.
fantastical element to Vertigo.
No, I thought for a while there was going to be, but the movie takes a nice twist. Though it is a little bit of a complex maneuver that Gavin tries to set up.
It's, I would say, probably implausible.
It's tough, but that's the things where great things happen. You set yourself up for the implausible, and it works out for him. I mean, it does sort of backfire a couple ways because Jimmy Stewart falls in love with the
woman who played
the
Gavin's
Maddie,
wife.
the person
Gavin. Who you
Gavin, yeah, the person that Judy who's playing Maddie.
Right.
But I didn't realize that twist until the flashback that Judy has. Were we supposed to see it beforehand?
It's interesting
Because I did not see it. I don't think it was foreshadowed.
So not extrapolating, but filling out the plot a little bit more than that synopsis there. Scotty is hired. He's like a detective on disability because he can't work anymore.
The movie starts out with that great rooftop chase.
Right.
It's a really exciting beginning. I tell you, talk about grab your attention right at the beginning.
With a nice shot of the bay right behind.
Oh
it.
yeah, what a hell of an opening scene where he has the vertigo and the cop falls to his death, and I mean that sets up him to retire early.
Sure.
Because he's a man of means. I think he comes from a well-to-do family, so he
Right.
doesn't need to work.
Oh, I thought he would have been like cop disability or something like that.
Maybe it doesn't matter to him. I don't think money's a big issue for him. He can relax for the last 40 years of his life if he wants to. How old is he supposed to be in this film?
That's kind of one of the criticisms of the movie at the time. He's actually Jim Stewart is 50 years old when he played Scotty.
That seems about. Yeah, I guess they're maybe supposed to be in their 40s, early 40s. Because Gavin and
Midge or Marjorie, his friend, was actually the actress, and the actress's name is
Barbara Geddes.
Yeah, is actually like 15 years younger than he is, and they're supposed to be like in school together,
Yeah,
in college together.
So they're supposed to be in their late 30s.
Yeah, but
like that.
he's actually Jim Stewart's actually 50.
Okay, but I can see. Yeah, he doesn't seem older than I think he's trying to be, including his buddy Gavin, played by Tom Helmore. He does seem a little older too, but maybe they're supposed to be around 40, possibly. And so I'm surprised they didn't color his hair because he still's got the salt and pepper in there.
Yeah,
If they would have taken the salt and pepper out, I think it would have done better to make him look 40 instead of 50.
Hitchcock threw Jim Stewart under the bus when the bad reviews came out for Vertigo, because there were some critics who said that Jimmy Stewart was too old, therefore it detracted from the love story that occurs because it just seemed weird that he was too
because
old.
of the huge age difference?
It didn't seem believable enough, I guess. Yeah, because
it stretched a little bit because, Maddie's supposed to be 26.
yeah,
And that means that Gavin married into a rich family. He was probably already pretty comfortable, since it sounds like they went to a private school. They come from well-to-do families. Yeah, so why would he have married? That means, I don't think it's that unusual, especially for those days.
Kim Novak was 24 when she played Madeline Judy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it was a little slightly irksome. I don't think it hurt the film terribly much.
No, obviously it's the film has transcended all that.
But anyways, you do have to do a little mental ignoring how Jimmy Stewart looks.
Sure.
To say he's 40.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever. And so he's hired by Gavin, an old college friend, to his wife has an interesting condition, which is that she believes she's inhabited by the spirit.
She doesn't believe it. She is.
She is inhabited.
Because she's unaware of the inhabitations.
Right. Inhabited by the spirit of Carlotta Valdez or Valdez or what's her name? Valdez.
Carlotta. Yeah, and believe me, I bought that hook, line, and sinker.
Oh, I did too.
All the way through.
Sure.
All the way to her supposedly jumping out of that bell tower and killing herself.
Right.
To all the haunting stuff, like in the Redwood Forest.
Yeah, and the hotel scene, which was very... that
is an interesting scene. He's following... there's 3 times where he tails her before they hook up. And the first one, she drives to this hotel, the hotel whatever, and you see her go in and go up to a room and sit, and then he goes in, and
she slips out the back or something.
Is that what happens?
It's got to happen.
Well, the woman at the front desk doesn't remember her coming in, so she must have slipped in. But it did. I mean, I think it was purposeful maneuver by Hitchcock. It made me think that, but there really is something supernatural going on. That he's actually was following a specter there, possibly.
Right.
It's unsettling. And I thought this film was going to go supernatural the whole way through.
I did too. I don't think, maybe the one tell is that I don't think Hitchcock ever dealt with the supernatural at all. While his films kind of have this implausibility, I don't think he ever delved into the supernatural or fantastic. To be honest, I've only seen like 3 other movies besides this one. I've seen Birds, which I watched recently, by the way.
Oh, really?
And
is Novak in that?
I don't know. No.
Isn't there a blonde in that movie?
There is a blonde, and I don't know who she is. But besides the creepiness of the birds and the whole birds weird thing, the woman is a really bizarre character of study. Like, she's obsessed with this guy that she just briefly met in San Francisco prior to the whole birds descending upon the town. It's really interesting, though. Like that, the person, because you're like, yeah, she's really weird, and good movie, but there's no fantastic elements in the birds. Psycho, obviously, no fantasy elements.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not familiar with his whole oeuvre, so. But anyways, I guess I didn't do that math when I was watching this.
Oh, I didn't either. No, I didn't either.
I wasn't going, that's probably not, because he doesn't do it in his other films. I wasn't thinking that.
Sure.
I thought we were straight up supernatural.
Yeah, I did too.
And that twist just, I actually rewound it. So when Judy turns to the camera, she has this weird, horrified look on her face. It is really a disconcerting look. So basically, after Maddie supposedly kills herself, Jimmy Stewart goes down a rabbit hole of mental instability.
He's diagnosed with acute melancholia.
Oh God, that scene really took me out of the movie there for a second, where Midge goes in to talk to the psychiatrist because Jimmy Stewart's institutionalized for a few months.
Yeah,
because he stops talking
right
after this, and after he gets ripped a new one by the judge.
Oh yeah. That's right. That was an interesting
court. That is brutal.
That is brutal.
Oh, yeah. Especially knowing that Gavin set him up for this.
It's interesting because it seemed like a hokey court to me. You had 7 jurors who deliberated right in the room with the defendants.
Well, I don't think it was... Nobody was on trial. I think it was an inquiry, grand jury, to establish the cause of death.
Okay.
So I think it was more of a grand jury.
Yeah.
Where they just had to have some lay people review the findings of suicide and go, yeah, it was suicide.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody was on trial.
Yeah, totally hung him out to dry though. Like just.
Oh man, that judge just ripped him.
And
it was really good. I was thinking about taking a cut to open the movie with that, but it there's something about Jimmy Stewart's character. He's an asshole, and he's I don't know what it is. He's just not very likable. He's sort of pitiable, I guess, but I don't even want to pity him. I just want to not like him in this movie.
Okay, so yeah, you're right.
And having him, that scene where he gets his weakness, his fault, just gets somebody. It's like somebody, he had a bum knee and somebody's just beating on him with a bamboo stick right on that knee. That judge telling him off for being weak. It makes it a little too easy to pity him.
Well, what made him unpitiable what made him unlikable?
He is pitiable. He's unlikable, though. Well, he's sort of he's a product of privilege.
Sure.
You can tell that. He doesn't, he's not interested in, obviously he has a good friend in Midge. Who wants to explore something more.
But he's just
he's sort of a playboy.
Yeah.
He's just a guy taking it easy. Sure, he was a police detective, but I don't think it was more than a flight of fancy for him to be a police. He had to do something with his life. And I can't really, by default, if you come from a place of privilege, and it's so tough to like somebody like that. And I don't want to pity somebody who had so much of his life handed to him.
Is there any unlikability that's involved with his interactions with Madeline in the first half of the movie?
Well, he is domineering, and I wonder if that's more of a product of the time, or if that's something something Hitchcock did, because he is. The way he looks at Maddie, like he wants to rip her clothes off and
fuck the shit out of her.
Yeah, just bend her over the hood of his car and go at it. It's just sort of. It's
a little jarring.
There's a dark place in old guys. Guys don't like to talk about it. It's not really acceptable.
It's admitting weakness also.
No, I don't think so much of that. I'm talking like if we go back a couple hundred years, I think guys were a little more free to be what is naturally men's behavior, which is domineering. Only really interested in sex.
Sure.
Not really interested in being a friend to their lovers. It's just, and I think that's more of a natural human behavior. And society, which is fine, where you can't really dominate the female sex. I think it's a natural position in humanity. I think it's the natural way things were probably for thousands of years. But there's still all that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm a sicko or something. But you still have those feelings.
Sure.
You still sort of feel like that.
Yeah.
Even though you can't go out and dominate women and just if you go out and just take women, you'd be like a rapist or something.
Or a pimp.
Yeah, or a pimp, or just somebody who is abusing their wife or something like that. Even though I think that may be more natural behavior for.
Yeah, we've gotten more civilized even in the past 50 years.
You wrap yourself in civility and you control yourself. It's just part of life.
Right.
You got to exert self-control. But he seems like he's that sort of animalistic man. Is a little more closer to the surface with him.
Yeah,
it's sort of creepy. You hate seeing it. Like you see it in guys' eyes, and it creeps you out. Like, hey man, put that away.
Right.
You don't let that side of human masculinity out in the wild.
It's like you're starting to draw a weapon or something. You're like,
it's like he's pulling out a sword. Yeah.
Why don't you chill that shit out?
Yeah. It's like, hey man,
we got some business to take care of.
Keep that wrapped up.
Exactly.
Maybe you let that out a little bit when you're hot and heavy with your lover. But that's about it. That's the only place that should ever be out.
Or the construction site.
It's just creepy.
Construction site.
Yeah, maybe there's certain sects in society where you can let it hang loose. Or maybe hanging with the guys.
I guess. But even when I'm hanging with the guys, we don't really ooh, I'd like to bend her over.
But there's guys like that.
Sure.
But in truth, you would like to bend her over.
Right, but you don't want to talk about it.
No, you don't even like to... You don't even like to acknowledge it.
It's like you're somebody else is injecting barbarity into your...
It's just the animal side of you. It's your old brain.
Fantasy.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, look,
So there's the scene where she dumps into San Francisco Bay underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, and then he drags her back, soaking wet, to his apartment, assumedly strips her down and puts her in the bath. And
puts her in the bath?
Well, she's just like, I think
he just puts her in bed.
Oh, well,
I don't
okay.
think he bathes her.
I don't. To warm her up? I don't know.
Plus, she had to be faking it the whole time, too, on top of all that.
Right.
Because she was faking this hypnotic state she got into. So, she must have been faking being unconscious?
I don't know.
When he undressed her?
It's
oh
weird
my God, I didn't think about that.
Well, it's weird that
she threw herself in there, and she admits that she's a strong swimmer later when she comes out as Judy. So that means she was faking being in such distress.
Of course.
So but she was already sort of God, but they haven't really had any interaction.
Well, it's weird because she's back at his apartment. If you saw a woman jump into the water, we're talking like 2012 man, not 1958 man. Saw a beautiful woman you've been tailing for, professional reasons in this case.
Yeah.
Suicidal, jump into the water and go unconscious. You would call 911, or that would be like your first
drag
thing.
her. Well, yeah. I mean, there's no cell phones. You take it maybe to the hospital or something.
Yeah, take her to the hospital.
But I guess it was sort of Remember, you got to remember that his friend had sort of sworn him to secrecy. So taking her to the hospital might have put her into a Gavin.
Made it legal. Might have
put her into the mental
ruse.
health system. He would have been better off for it because it probably might have exposed the ruse. On top of that, but Gavin would have been disappointed. Gavin's an old, even though he's getting fucked by Gavin.
Right.
It's still sort of an honor system where he has got to take care of it. He calls Gavin right away. There's a good chance that he got her in the car, brought him to his apartment, called Gavin, said, "What do you want to do?" And Gavin goes, "Well, just warm her up and get her back later."
It's interesting
because he's on the phone with him, and it was not the first time he called him. Gavin called him, so you're guessing when he got there and got her into bed that he called Gavin.
Right.
Hey, Gavin, what do you want to do? She fell into the water. I'm worried about her. She's cold. I put her into the bed to warm her up. Or even before that, he goes, "We'll get her warmed up and make sure she's stable, then just bring her back home."
It's interesting.
So, I mean, you could say it's creepy, and it is in this movie, but not. And it would be creepy if somebody just did that. Like if you're down at the park and some random hot blonde threw herself into the ocean. And then you fished her out. She was unconscious. You brought her home to your basement. And then put her in 4-point restraints. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's not what I was thinking about.
That's just what's weird is that...
Yeah, I mean, it would be improper. You wouldn't do it. You take her to the hospital.
So
right? You can understand the plausibility of what he did in this storyline.
Watching it through the lens of 1958 and this whole... I mean, that's 2 generations behind us.
Sure, what was considered proper etiquette for a man, for the female man, has changed a fair amount.
So, watching this from the 1958 perspective, would you question the creepiness of that scene?
Well, no, it's creepy, but it's not what he did that's creepy. It's how he looks at her.
Yeah,
he looks at her with those lustful eyes. You see guys do it. Hell, I've done it. Looked at somebody that way, and you gotta not do that.
Sunglasses
especially
in public,
in your 20s or something.
Sunglasses in public.
Well, he's leering at her, and I mean, we're talking about this old animalistic nature of masculinity bubbling up. That's letting it get too close to the surface.
Some real good acting there by Jimmy Stewart.
I think it was. I mean, I can't imagine that he was just acting in what would be considered normal behavior for the time. Now he's leering at her. And I think Alfred Hitchcock knew that. It's supposed to be unsettling.
Sure.
Was it as unsettling to a late 1950s audience? I mean, probably not.
Sure.
It's certainly unsettling now.
Yeah,
is that anachronism, or is it a conscious decision? I think it had to be conscious, personally.
Well, it's integral to the story.
He continues with that sort of behavior for the rest of the film.
With Judy especially.
Yeah, with Judy especially.
Stalks
he
her.
really cranks it up to another level. That's why I wanted to get a little bit of the asshole nature of him, which makes him unlikable.
So, talking about the mechanics, there's this ruse going on, and it's an incredibly detailed ruse that Gavin perpetrates using Judy, which is to this weird facade of like paranormal that goes along with this, her assuming Carlotta Valdez's psyche or spirit and chasing it down throughout the first part of the movie. So she goes to the Palace of Legion, the Palace of...
that art gallery?
The art gallery, which is an actual San Francisco location, as most of
some great location stuff around
San Francisco.
It'd be fun to, if you really loved Alfred Hitchcock, there must be plenty of people that hit all these locations when they go to San Francisco.
And they're all highly detailed, like Scotty's apartments at the, just below the windy part of Lombard Street.
Was that shot in a real apartment?
Yeah. Yeah. And that view of Coit Tower is actually real. So if you go into his apartment and you look out the window...
That apartment's still there. I bet people go by to check it out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's actually a really nice kind of mid-century design, that his apartment.
Yeah, you can see that, the modern sleek lines with getting rid of all the frilliness in design. And I love keeping things square. You love that sort of time period. That's where your house is sort of that time.
Yeah, mid-century. Our house, 1954.
Yeah. Clean lines, a little lower ceilings.
Fireplace was great.
Everything's, there's not so much... just a lot of clean, straight lines.
A lot of Scandinavian influence with the furniture. Yeah, I like that stuff. I thought it was great.
Nice pad.
So there's a lot of locations. The Presidio is featured in this. Obviously, the location on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
Palace of Fine Arts is a scene when him and Judy are dating, quote unquote. I guess they're dating. It's just that weird.
When they go dancing?
I forget, but they're walking in front of the Palace of Fine Arts, which is a beautiful building in San Francisco.
I've only been to San Francisco once.
I've been there a handful of times. My grad school buddy, Dr. Harker, and I went to the Palace of Fine Arts. They have a huge science museum there, like kids' science museum there. Called, I forget what it's like, the Exploratorium or something. We spent literally 3.5 hours in there because we're both physics
Were you
students.
Get out of my way, you goddamn kids.
Yeah, pushing little kids out of the way and, trying to figure shit out. And it was kind of fun. I mean, for an adult, with a science degree, there's stuff still there that's really cool.
Well, maybe I'll take a little trip down to San Fran.
It's also huge for wedding photos. The Palace of Fine Arts is wedding photo central. So you'll be walking through there, and there's that big domed kind of Monticello-looking building, and then all these columns and arches. And so you're walking through there, and it's just lousy with wedding parties getting their photographs done there. There was also this weird performance artist who was balancing rocks on top of each other, like these cairns, but they're...
Oh, he has these crazy cantilever stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's interesting. But the one day I spent there was after a Fish concert. That was a little bit of a daze.
Oh, I would imagine. Yeah. A beautiful city. Actually, Hitchcock called it the Paris of America. He thought it was a classic city.
It.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
He lived there for quite a while.
And as a result, it's fucking expensive. So.
Yeah. Well, you can just go live in Oakland. Take the BART over.
That'd suck. And just be too tantalizing.
Live in Oaktown?
Deal with.
Well, it's a lot cheaper.
Well, it's interesting because they make reference to where Gavin's shipyard is, which is south of the Mission District, or south of Mission Street, there's some road that cuts through north-south San Francisco, kind of the dividing line between kind of the gentrified part of town and sort of the more seedy chunk of town.
So
back
who's
in
the seedy chunk? Is that where Judy's apartment is?
No, that's where Gavin is. I think some references.
Oh, the shipyards.
Yeah, the shipyards.
Yeah. Well, he's down there because that's his family business.
But now that's all kind of artist loft space, and there's just not a square inch.
I mean, they're not building huge seagoing vessels in San Francisco.
Shocking. Yeah, there's not a square inch of San Francisco that's.
Doesn't have a nice house on it.
The South San Francisco, you get a little bit more affordable, but even for a rundown house, you're probably still clipping around $700,000-$800,000.
Yeah, and the weather's not that great.
I remember I was there with my folks, and we were walking off Van Ness towards some condos to see a friend who lived there, and we were walking by, and it was what's that sitcom?
You're doing a funny walk.
Yeah, we're like walking past, what is it, like Full House? Like that.
Oh, that by the park?
Yeah, there's the park, and then there's these beautiful Victorian houses, BMWs sitting in the driveway.
Yeah.
And then we walked through, like, I shit you not, like 2 blocks of ghetto. It was just like 2 blocks of like ungentrified space with like a convenience store, nasty looking public housing, people hanging out on the steps.
You tear it down eventually. Like down in South Lake Union, they're building up here in Seattle. They just condemned like sort of these crack house looking places that are down like a couple blocks away from the big Amazon headquarters. They're going to put up like a business mixed, building there, I'm sure, as soon as they get those things tore down to the ground.
Yeah.
That's just part of the gentrification process.
It was funny, though, because it's like 2 square blocks of ghetto.
Yeah.
And you would feel intimidated, but you look behind you, and it's these amazing San Francisco houses, and then in front of you is brand new condos, and there's just this little pocket of ghetto.
Yeah,
it's
sort of a problem with cities. You really need to mix the poor and the wealthy together to really have a healthy city. That's where gentrification causes some problems. It pushes all the working class out of the city.
So
I know it's a weird thing in San Francisco because they have like the highest minimum wage.
It's like $12 an hour or
And
something like that.
they have problems staffing like their Wendy's restaurants.
Right, yeah.
Because everybody's got to commute in from Oaktown.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the only location of cheap labor is in Oakland.
Yeah.
and that's not an easy commute at all.
That's a long BART ride.
So we're treated to nice shots of 58 San Francisco, which I thought was interesting because I haven't.
It looked a lot like modern San Francisco, to be quite honest.
It did, actually. Except for the amount of. I never saw a dude in this film without a suit on. Not one.
Yeah, people like to wear suit and hats.
Suit and hats.
I think we're just getting over that. That's the funny thing about Midge in this film. Now, I'm really confused about that character and why she's in this film, Midge. But there's one scene, talking about hats, is he's going to go out with Midge and him are going to go check something out. It's like when he's first following Maddie. He has some questions for her. Oh, they go to the bookstore to talk to the old German guy.
Argosy.
Yeah, the old German intellectual. And goes, you want me to get your hat? And she goes, I don't need a hat. She's sort of a modern woman.
Right.
But maybe that's why he doesn't want to get with Midge, because he can't dominate her.
No,
he needs a woman he can dominate.
Here's the whole thing, at least the way I read it in some of the background.
The Midge stuff?
The Midge stuff.
All right, see if because I can't make heads or tails of it.
The whole thing about Scotty's character is that he has never been in love before. That's sort of what they're trying to portray with Midge, because Midge he was engaged to her for 3 weeks.
But he wasn't in love with her.
But he wasn't in love with her, so that all fell apart.
So the idea is he's been sleeping around.
I guess.
He's not chaste.
No.
I don't get that.
Now, if you're, well,
he's been boning some chicks, but he's never.
Obviously,
He falls. I don't see. Anyways, go ahead.
Obviously, has no inhibition of chasing chicks down on the street.
Yeah, so it means it's not all of a sudden at age 40 he decided he's going to get crazily in lust with some blonde-haired ice queen.
Right.
But go ahead, read the rest of this.
Oh, I'm not reading anything. I'm just saying that Marjorie was that character that basically is there to show that this Scotty character has never really been in true love before.
Well, I can see that. I mean, I don't think he's ever in true love. I don't think he's capable of love.
Well,
all he can really do for women is be lustful after them and dominate them. The only reason he really maybe falls for the Maddie character because she's so fucked up that he needs somebody he can dominate. And it's great that he picks up. I mean, a lot of these, like we're talking about guys being abusive in relationships. A lot of times, abusive guys, they pick really weak women that they can just, that are easy to manhandle. I mean, I'm talking like emotionally.
Well, and Maddie.
Maybe that's why he's falling for Maddie.
And Maddie's extremely, as the character that Judy plays, assuming there's not a lot of difference. I'm kind of Judy Madeline. There's a lot of crossover there.
Yeah, there is a weird crossover.
It's not a complete role.
But he sees a woman that he can basically be her whole world.
Sure.
And in that way dominate. It's not dominated by beating. It's dominated by I will take you in and you'll become what I want you to become. You're a blank vessel for me to fill.
That's creepy.
And that's what he wants out of a woman.
Well, also, she's extremely...
I mean, who would want to be with Jimmy Stewart's character? Who would want to be in a relationship? He's fine maybe for a buddy. That's what Midge has him for. But to be in love with him, he wants nothing. I mean, look how he treats Judy. You can say it's just because he's obsessed with that dead woman. I'm saying it's his character. He needs a woman that he can domineer in every... He wants a blank slate that he can take in and make his little treasure.
Okay, so there's the whole role that Judy plays as Madeline, which, to me, you'd either have to hire a top-notch actress as Gavin to get that role so perfect.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which is interesting how he picked her for one, how he groomed her for two, and the lack of forethought of keeping her in the same town as Scotty afterwards seems really bizarre.
So money's not an issue with Gavin.
Sure.
The issue is you're involved in an illegal activity.
You want to murder your wife.
Yeah, you can't just hire the best actress to play this role because they're going to be an accessory to murder.
Correct.
You got to find somebody weak, somebody on the fringes of society to hire.
But you have to. I mean, you have to make sure that he's not suspicious of anything.
Yeah, he should have just set her up with a nice place, up in Portland or something when this was all over with. He shouldn't have left Judy in town.
Right. Well,
you get the feeling that after it was all done, he sort of told Judy to hit the bricks.
Well, he didn't give her any money. That's for sure. She's living in kind of a rundown.
Yeah, she's working like a point of sale job. That's what happened. I mean, she says as much. Is that that basically after it was all done, he told her, "Take a hike, bitch. What are you going to do? Go to the police?"
Yeah, you're an accessory to murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, "Fuck you," and he left.
Which means that Judy's probably a victim of those kind of men anyway. So.
There we go.
Right.
She's weak. She's a weak person, and the abusive prey on the weak. That's how it works.
Yeah, right.
If you're an abusive person, you look for somebody weak.
So she's basically pimped out by Gavin to do this for her.
Yeah, he's just taking advantage of somebody in the lower classes.
And so maybe he had an affair with Judy and convinced her that we'll knock off the wife.
I wouldn't put it aside that Gavin boned her a few times.
Yeah, and we'll knock off the wife and run away together. Maybe that was the deal.
Yeah, and she's like, I mean, some poor farm girl from Kansas.
That's right, Salina, Kansas. That's right. You get her backstory.
Look. Yeah, welcome to the real world, Judy.
You get to live in a nice...
There's a bunch of rich dicks out there.
You get to live in a nice hotel, and I forget the name of the hotel, but it has since changed. The hotel we always see that Judy comes out, or Madeline comes out of, is, and I don't have that at my fingertips, but it's been renamed a few things since 1958, but it is now the Hotel Vertigo.
Oh.
So,
well, who are the real losers in this film?
Judy.
And the real Maddie. Who really get fucked over?
Oh yeah, Maddie. That's right. We never meet Maddie. Yeah. She just
They're
dies.
the two people who lose their life.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor Judy.
Yeah, she's.
What's she supposed to do? She doesn't know any better. She's not in a position of power in any way.
And yeah, that's right.
And be quite honest with you, she sort of leads herself into it.
This is
She should have hit. She should have. When she ran into Johnny again, she should have hit the bricks.
Oh yeah. Well, and here's the other interesting thing. So
when she's writing that letter, she shouldn't have torn it up and go, well, maybe I can rekindle this under a different ruse.
So when is the point where Scotty realizes that Judy was actually Madeline?
Yeah, that point is a little unnerving in this film because you just don't see where Scotty, he's so into his fantasy that I'm just surprised that necklace could shake him out of it.
And then for him,
that's it.
Well, and then
he sees the necklace, and immediately, all that crosses his face is like a poker face, and then he comes up with a plan to confront her and beat his vertigo at the same time.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
It is the way he so quickly turns on a dime. All right, well, I guess we're just gonna have to accept that's what Hitchcock wants us to accept about his character. I just don't see his character as being strong enough to shake himself out of this dazed, dreamlike world he's created.
Right.
He's living in a fantasy world.
Well,
For like the last 6 minutes of the film, he has a break in his psyche, and then he goes into a fantasy world, and he can just cut himself out of it like that. I don't see. I don't think he's strong enough.
And make her confront,
because he's sort of weak himself.
Very weak.
Because he can't control, sort of the animal side.
Well, and the whole part about this movie is like there's the big thing about obsession, and obsession. It seems like obsession is sort of the playground of the young. I always sort of dismiss, like...
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of a weird game for a 40-year-old to be playing.
And it doesn't seem... It just doesn't seem as probable to me. And maybe that's because, I don't know, like, I'm just a burnt-out shell of a man in my as I near 40 here. I don't know, but it always seems like when we talk about obsession, it always seems like... I remember being obsessed as a young man about, I would call them unattainable girls at that age. They weren't really women.
I mean, we had our romances that they weren't the best idea.
No, they weren't the best idea, but you're young and you get obsessed, and it's the whole obsession thing is kind of a bizarre...
Oh, yeah.
And I've never...
It's a dark place.
And I've never been back there since, I'll say it that way.
Well, I think a lot of people... I mean, maybe that's the case for you, but I think a lot of people they can't quite dismiss their obsessions.
And the only thing I can say is that their wiring's bad. That there's something that, like, maturity hasn't extinguished with that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think
dysfunctional way.
Yeah, just imagine carrying some of those feelings continuing through life.
Right.
I mean, that's just the case his wiring is bad.
Well, because, okay,
he doesn't have the strongest psyche.
If I got hired for this,
sort of broken.
If I got hired for this gig, I would be like, even if Madeline was showing kind of attraction to me, I'd be like, she's really fucked up.
Yeah, she is a messed up.
She's suicidal.
Look, I'll do her, but I'm not going to marry her.
She's suicidal. She's married.
Boy,
and
I know, but man, do you remember Judy's in that green dress?
Yeah.
Just
huge,
pendulous breasts.
That's one thing I always liked about the 50s.
Whoa.
I do like the 50s standard of beauty, the voluptuous kind of Marilyn Monroe.
It's weird how different she looks when she puts on that gray business suit.
And that was
in that sort of mossy green. Gosh, she looks like so different.
And that was done. That was done for effect because everybody knows that gray is not a blonde's best friend. And so Kim Novak,
I didn't know that.
Well, it's a bad combo. You can tell watching this.
Blonde and gray?
It's not working. And Kim Novak was...
Well, it certainly doesn't make her look quite as voluptuous. I mean, she looks so... When she's in that green dress, she looks so fertile. Like you blow on her and she'd get impregnated.
Kim Novak actually questioned Hitchcock about it. I was like, why... Gray's terrible. I was like, it's got to be gray! God damn it. And and I think it was done for that reason you just mentioned, to bring out that contrast when you do see her.
She looks so much thinner,
right,
in the gray than in the green. I mean, she's just so voluptuous in that green dress. It's just amazing.
Hitchcock was masterful with color. That was one of his chief, when he got a hold of Kodak Technicolor, which is a wonderful looking film.
When did you can see that the color chemistry wasn't quite there in this film, but damn, it's close.
This is a restored copy of the film that was meticulously restored in 1996.
You think the colors were better then when it came out?
I think it's the version we watched was better than the original. I think it was
color-wise, and the colors still weren't quite right.
Right.
The chemistry wasn't there yet. Kodak hadn't done all that work yet to get it perfect.
But Technicolor always looks great. I don't like it. Well, it's
not. Look, it's not Kodachrome.
No, but it has a nice heightened
reality.
Colors,
it catches certain colors. I think it's sensitive. Its sensitivity color is a little different than the eye's sensitivity color. So it renders the world a little askew from what we would consider a real color rendering.
And I like that. I like the look.
That's all right. It doesn't look like reality looks. The blues are wrong. All the colors are wrong. Because I don't think the dyes have the same sensitivity to like the rhodopsin in our eyes.
I've always wondered why...
we don't even use film any longer.
Yeah, I've always wondered why somebody... we have the ability to create any film we want electronically, while somebody doesn't do a retro Technicolor movie or film in retro Technicolor.
Well, people play with colors all the time.
Well, Wes Anderson does amazingly, but he doesn't.
He does?
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of color going on in his films.
Yeah, and people tone stuff. I remember Pitch Black. That was a great movie that played with color.
Yeah, a little washed
That was
bleaching.
probably done in the chemistry. That was probably done in chemistry.
The bleaching effect.
Oh, the different colors. I mean, you see it in this film where the processing of the film, where like Hitchcock makes a strobing red or strobing green. I'm sure that was done at developing in the film, where they left other colors, some colors undeveloped, and only developed the green channel for 20 feet of film.
Oh, right. Also, there's a nice animated sequence at the
Oh yeah, so there was animation in it
for his nightmare.
Oh, with the flower bouquet that sort of. I watched that twice. It's like, what the fuck are these shapes in here? Because I thought maybe he'd do something lurid in the shapes, but the only thing I caught were petals and cuffs.
Okay.
Men's shirt cuffs.
Interesting. Yeah.
Strange.
Interesting, nice little segue. I mean, it goes to his break, obviously.
Yeah, that's where he does a lot of that weird color processing.
Yeah, but the animated sequence I thought was really.
Yeah, I wonder if people did animation much in films.
Well, Disney was, of course, the
well,
big...
I mean, mixing animation into it. You see it every once in a while. It's always really neat when people do it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised people don't do it more. I mean, like, you think of Kill Bill.
Kill Bill had that nice little anime vignette.
Yeah. It was a little more of a longer cut.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. I think it...
now would it have been CG'd up? Probably. And then we probably wouldn't have been as interesting.
No, it wouldn't have been. Well, that color flashing is
Yeah, that's something... Was this... Do you know when the code... What was this called? Technicolor?
Technicolor was...
I thought it was called Viva Vista or something.
Oh, was it? Oh, it was one of those older film technologies.
It was an early color. Hold on. When color came back out in the 40s, though, right?
I don't remember. Yeah, well, obviously, the Wizard of Oz was 1937, and that's how.
Yeah, that had color. And that had it looked like the same color chemistry. Maybe this was a bit better.
Little
Wizard of Oz color chemistry.
This was a restored film. Actually, strangely, there were...
but it wasn't quite there yet, technically.
No. Vertigo was out of distribution for like 30 years. It was off the grid. It was one of Hitchcock's lost films.
It was off the grid. Well, I mean...
nobody had access to it.
Well, it was before VHS, so the only access you would have was film prints.
It was a rights thing, yeah, and it wasn't reshown for like 30 years until like 1984 or something like that. So it was one of Hitchcock's they call it the 5 Lost Hitchcocks.
What are those?
The Man Who Knew Too Much, Rear Window, which those are both Jimmy Stewart movies.
Oh.
Rope, which we had talked about but
Really?
haven't seen, and The Trouble with Harry. Which I'm not sure what that is. So, but yeah, that was gone for 30 years, and then it was meticulously restored in the 90s, which is what we...
that film was probably starting to degrade pretty badly.
Yeah, and I guess for the people who, were part of that restoration, they were like, if Hitchcock could have seen this, he would have been delighted, because it's apparently... supersedes the original print. It's that good. So we're lucky, I guess, to have seen the version we saw, not an older copy, because this one's. Well, Mark's shrugging. He doesn't much care.
I have it seems a little false to say that it's better than the original. I mean, Hitchcock made the film knowing what the technology could do. And he made the film with the tool set he had. So, saying that if you made the colors look better, whatever that means, later on, how does...
Cleaner? I don't know.
Yeah, but see, the point makes sense to me, because an artist knows his tool set. And I'm sure that Hitchcock knew what film could do, and what his film stock was capable of, and he made the film using those tools on purpose. And, sure, if he had made it 20 years later, he would have used a different tool set, right? But he made the art with the tools he had. He used, just like a great painter would use the colors that he had available at whatever time he grew up. And so to say that you could make it better...
Well, okay.
I just can't quite believe that. I mean, he made it to be shown in 1958 with the tools he had.
Okay.
So I think that's probably would have been the best way to see it.
Right.
To see a fresh print in 1958.
we're maybe arguing a little apples and oranges, but
No, I think. Well, anyways, I just
Okay.
think it's a little false to say you can improve on what the artist intended originally.
all right. Anyway,
You can remake films, and that's cool, but it's not going to be that artist's vision.
well, the thing, Hitchcock in color. The reason that Psycho is black and white is because he shot the bathtub scene with the blood so many times, and the color never came out right. He could never do it, and he said, "Fuck it,
Black
and white.
black and white.
We're doing all black and white. I can't
Yeah.
manage."
Well,
This
there's
is
a
not
guy
looking
making
good.
a decision about his tools. He said, I can't use this tool.
We're doing it.
I
all
can't
in
use
black
this
and white.
brush. I'm going to go use a brush I used a few years ago.
So thinking about Psycho in color, I haven't seen the Gus Van Sant remake. I have no intention to see it. I think Gus Van Sant. Is it Gus Van Sant that redid? Yeah, he redid Psycho.
Yeah, I can't quite remember with Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, but I would think, and he shot it shot for shot. He took the storyboard.
Yeah, it was almost like a student exercise.
Well, and as Gus Van Sant, if somebody's going to throw money at you, and it's like, remake Psycho shot for shot, I think that would be a terrific
Exercise, yeah.
I'd be like, oh, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's not going to necessarily make a great film.
And I think he got some criticism at the time for redoing Psycho, but he was like, so he's going to throw money at me. I get to basically
do a deep study
of one of the most famous films in history. Mm-hmm. And why not? I'd do it. Shit.
Yeah, that's great work. I mean,
Good
you got
idea.
the time, and do you think you can learn something from it?
I don't know if it was shot in color or not. Probably shot
Yeah,
in color.
shot in color.
Yeah, it's had to. I think it was just basically, like they remake stuff
Who
now.
plays the woman who gets killed?
Oh
Hesh.
shit!
Hesh.
I don't know all
Anne
this.
Hesh.
Anne Hesh. That's
Yeah, Anne Hesh.
no. Anne Hesh is she's Anne Heche.
Hesh. That's what I meant.
No. That's Ellen DeGeneres' former lover.
Yeah, she played the woman that gets killed
she was
in
in
the
there.
shower.
Oh, she was in the remake.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
the
it's about the
remake.
original.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, all right. So anyway, but we were talking about color and that scene with where she changes into the green dress and
I mean, that's what she's wearing when he comes across Judy.
right. When he comes across Judy and she has like red hair. Mm-hmm. I didn't recognize her, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll tell you, she looked a lot different. I think that's just Hitchcock being a genius by making her blonde and putting her in that gray. Her body just looks totally different, and he put her in this green top, just made her look so voluptuous.
I didn't recognize that it was Judy until she wrote that letter that she never sent, exposing.
Oh well, I don't think he didn't foreshadow. Well, that's a huge turn in this movie. Basically, he reveals what happened. Basically, he took all this. You don't know where the film's going. You had this whole supernatural thing, which was quite believable. And you had Jimmy Stewart's brick, and you got 40 minutes left on the film. You're going, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And, and then all of a sudden, it reveals what happened to you. Basically, the curtain's drawn open.
Why was it done there and not later? That's one thing I was.
Well, I think this
questioning.
is a classic early great turn, sort of like No Country for Old Men, where about 2/3, 3/4 of the way into the film, there's a huge turn in the plot.
Really? What's
No
that?
Country for Old Men?
Yeah, what's the turn? I don't even remember.
The turn is the Mexicans catch up with what's his name and kill him by the poolside.
The Josh Brolin character.
Yeah, the Josh Brolin character.
Oh, I thought that was
And
towards the end of the movie.
it goes from a story about Josh Brolin to more of a story about the
Anton Sugar.
And no, it's more about a story about the sheriff.
Oh, right, the Tom.
I mean, there's a
Cruise
huge shift in that movie. A lot of people hated that shift, and it's very disconcerting. First time I saw it, oh my God, they just killed that character. You don't even see his dead body. You don't see his murder scene. The movie just shifts. It
That's
just
true.
takes your gut, turns it around. And this movie does a very similar thing here. I mean, you're going, okay, how's this supernatural thing going to resolve itself?
Yeah.
And then you still got a third or a quarter of the movie left, and it resolves like this, wham!
Right.
And then that's it.
Oh, by the way, allow me to interject a really terrible movie that has a great turn in it. Mm-hmm. Executive Decision starring Kurt Russell and Steven Seagal. You're watching it, and you're like, why am I watching a Steven Seagal movie? I fucking hate Steven Seagal. Mm-hmm. Steven Seagal's in this? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Mm-hmm. And he dies 20 minutes into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's awesome. He's like on this jet that somehow attaches itself to this 747 that's been skyjacked. and then they drill a hole secretly through the bottom of the airplane as if, and then the plane comes detached, and then Steven Seagal like flies out and dies in midair or falls to his death. Perfect. And then I was like, ooh, this is going to be good because now Steven Seagal's out of it.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's fine. But this is
No,
we're
I'm
so
just
far
kidding.
into the movie.
I'm sorry to bring up that.
I know you're making a funny joke.
But you're not laughing.
But I'm just talking about the twist.
The twist.
How retching this twist is.
Right. Yeah.
How shocking it is.
It throws you. It
He's
threw
like,
me.
are you serious? So basically, in the span of about 30 seconds, you're told there's no supernatural element. Judy was actually playing Maddie. Jimmy Stewart got screwed over enormously by an old college buddy.
Right. Set up.
Just like that. You're just told it. And all with this terrible, sort of sick look on Judy's face, which Hitchcock just holds this look. Remember, she turns toward the camera, and you see like her head at the bottom of the frame, and she's got this sort of disgusted look on her face, like she can't imagine what she did. She looks very unattractive.
She doesn't, as Judy, she's not particularly, she's definitely nowhere near.
Well, I'm just saying the look on her face right there. You're right.
No.
She doesn't quite have the beautiful, something about the face is different.
Yeah.
I mean, the body's.
The hair, obviously.
Yeah, but that is such a maneuver. That's just a kick in the gut.
So my thing was why wasn't that reveal done later? Why didn't
later? How much later would you want to do that? Oh, I see what you mean. Why were we told what was happening?
Well, where do you get into Scotty's head more? Like because if you weren't told via that sort of narration with the letter right there at the beginning of the Judy sequence of this film, which is like the last 45 minutes of this film, which is Judy, Scotty.
No, it's only about 40 minutes.
Is it?
Yes, I think it might be less. I think it might be more like 35 minutes.
Okay. Why aren't you allowed to stand in Scotty's shoes up to a certain point and be kind of let on like he was? Why do we get let in way before Scotty's aware of it?
Yeah, I mean, it would if he didn't reveal it, we would have had to take the trip with Scotty, where he turns on a dime when he sees the necklace.
Yeah,
we would have had to take that trip.
Yeah,
gotta be tough.
Okay. And
plus, I think Hitchcock's maybe trying to induce pity in the viewer to realize that Scotty's being an asshole and he's obsessed and he's become basically sort of a detestable human being. And this way we can sort of forgive him and pity him. And maybe that's what they want to do. I mean, I did not want to pity him. I wanted to be disgusted by him.
Yeah, but he's pretty offensive during his basically making her up to be the dead woman. I mean,
I know. I think that's maybe why Hitchcock gave us that term, so we can see his offensive behavior and his detestable behavior, but we can pity him because he was given an egregious hurt.
Well, and
by the same woman that he's treating so badly.
He's at the will of his obsession.
Yeah, it gives us a reason why he's obsessed, to forgive him. Forgive him his obsession.
And he's also broken halfway through the movie, or he's broken.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's for pity. I think
okay.
It gives people an emotional out to do more than just hate him.
Yeah, all right.
You know what I mean? Sure. I didn't want to pity him, and I fought against it.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the point. But
sure.
Anyways, so as always, when we come to the end of the main part of our discussion, I'd like to go back. Or did you just have something?
No,
else
I don't know what you're gonna what review.
Oh, I got a couple different reviews.
But I'd like to address, since it's sort of not timely but current, the decision to call it the greatest film of all time, and is it deserving of that title?
Well, I don't know. Maybe we can take a look at a couple of reviews.
Let's do it. Okay, so the first review we're going to read is it's by Variety staff. There's actually not an author associated with it.
What date was it?
1958.
So in situ review.
Yeah, so at the time of Vertigo's release, it was kind of like any other movie. Obviously, to reach its title of the best movie of all time takes some maturing, I
Well,
guess.
this glass has got to have a little time to become rose in colors.
The whiskey needs some time to age in the cask. At the time, it was just it was a genre film, and reading a little bit about the British Film Institute's decision is Citizen Kane isn't a genre film. It's it's like a genre, or it's a drama that we typically associate with Oscar winners that kind of don't have that genre label. And genre has always been sort of a ghetto of fiction, whether it's novels or film. This was a psychological thriller. It was a mystery. You would find, I think its source material was a French novel that would have probably been found in the mystery section.
Mystery section, yeah.
Exactly. So
has some twists and turns.
Yeah. So that's kind of the lens it was viewed through at the time.
There's no reason it shouldn't be.
So here's some comments. Stewart on camera almost constantly throughout the film's 126 minutes comes through with a startling fine performance as the lawyer cop. I just love the adjective, startlingly fine.
Well, I mean, we're going to have some...
I know. Miss Novak, shop girl who involves Stewart in what turns out to be a clear case of murder, is interesting under Hitchcock's direction. It's just kind of funny. Throughout all of his runs, Hitchcock's directional hand, cutting, angling... Oh, wait a minute, I got the beat wrong on that one. Through all of this runs Hitchcock's directional hand, cutting, angling, and gimmicking with mastery.
Gimmicking with mastery?
Gimmicking. I guess that's probably that.
That's a good use of the word, gimmicking.
That might be the zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom out, zoom in.
Yeah. What do you call it? It's like, oh God, did you ever see the movie? It was a Will Ferrell movie about professional basketball. What was the name of that movie?
I didn't see that actually.
Oh, it's like the tropics. Oh, I forget the name of the movie. But anyways, there's a scene in the movie where the alley-oop is invented. You familiar with the alley-oop?
Yeah, the alley-oop. So you underhand and overhand?
Well, you throw the ball up next to the hoop, and then some guy comes flying through the air and grabs it and slams it.
Right.
And like the sportscasters that are they see it. They didn't have no words for it because they've never heard of it before. Okay. It's like we're not really sure. The game stops. We're not really sure what just happened. But you can sort of see where you've seen what do you call something you've never seen before?
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
It's tough to get the words don't exist yet.
Unfortunately, even that mastery is not enough to overcome one major fault. For the plain fact is that the film's first half is too slow and too long.
I mean, when they say probably the first half, they mean up to the twist.
Sure. Interesting. I didn't think that.
I thought it was a little slow.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess you were kind of said you were yawning a bit.
Yeah, I think some of the shots were...
Well, and that's always my main complaint about older films is the pacing is always off because...
Well, maybe the pacing was even slow even by that time.
Interesting.
Yeah, I could see where 10 minutes could have been shaved off.
So some of the reasoning that the reviewer says for the slow nature of the film is that maybe because, one, Hitchcock became overly enamored with the vertiginous beauty of San Francisco.
I like that word.
Or a Frisco. Using the word Frisco.
They used Frisco in that review?
Yeah, Frisco, which is probably a New Yorker jabbing at San Francisco because... I
always think of Hell's Angels when I think of Frisco.
Frisco, oh yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of...
the Hunter S. Thompson
Hunter S. Thompson book. What's it called?
Hell's Angels.
Hell's Angels.
Yeah, Frisco. You don't call it San Fran. You don't call it Frisco because you'll be immediately corrected once you enter the. Which always seems weird to me, like that they malign those nicknames of their city. I mean, really, do you give a shit?
That's officially a problem I don't give a shit about.
Like I've heard people call Seattle Seatown. I don't give a shit. You can call it a shithole for all I care.
Yeah.
I once called Spokane Spokaloo.
I thought it was Spookaloo.
Spookaloo, whatever.
Oh, no, it is Spokaloo.
Spokaloo, right. And our friend Will turned at me, did a double take, and was like, what are you talking about? Nobody calls Spokane Spokaloo. Oh.
I'd never heard it except from you, and now I think about that every time I think about Spokane.
Okay, and Spokanistan, that's another one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, you just like coming up with goofy words. That's your dad coming out.
That's my dad, and much to Rose's chagrin.
I like that part of your dad.
Another reason for it being slow, maybe the Alec Koppel Samuel Taylor screenplay from the novel D'Enchants les Morts, which means the living of the dead or living among the dead or something like that, by Pierre Boulou and Thomas Narcisiac.
Oh, you really, man, do you speak French?
No, I just murdered those names. Can you tell? Okay. It takes too long to get off the ground. Let's see, some other comments. Stewart goes off his rocker.
Let's go off his rocker.
And winds up
I got to start using that saying
again.
again.
Rocker. Winds up at a mental institution. When he comes out still a trifle unbalanced, he keeps hunting for
A trifle.
For a girl who resembles the dead girl. Eventually finds her, and in a rip-snorting denouement, discovers he's been tricked. Attention, by the way, if you're reading this review, spoilers. This just totally...
Did they use the word spoilers?
No, but this review, if you open up your variety, go, what shall we go see tonight, dear? And then you're...
Yeah, I think we go to the point where spoilers are sort of... they're overplayed these days.
Then you read this, and then you get fucked. Eventually finds her in a rip-snorting denouement, discovers he's been tricked. That this girl is indeed his supposedly dead mystery woman.
Well, they don't leave anything for the imagination.
Yeah, don't
This
worry
is a
about
review like just after the film comes out.
Well, maybe this is why Hitchcock's they read the Variety View and said, "Fuck it, I'm not going."
Maybe they just gave films away back then.
With the ship, okay, so I'm losing my pacing here. That the girl is indeed his supposedly dead mystery woman, who, with the shipbuilder, played on Stewart's fear of height to allow the shipbuilder to push his wife off the Mission Bell Tower.
Yeah,
bad grammar.
Yeah.
No spell checker back then in 1958, or grammar check. Okay, but by then more than 2 hours have gone by, and it's questionable whether that much time should be devoted to what is basically only a psychological murder mystery. So this is the genre tag that the movie got that tended to.
It's not the. I think that makes some good points about some of the problems with the film.
Frisco location scenes, whether of Nob Hill, interior of Ernie's Restaurant, Land's End, downtown Muir Woods, Mission Dolores, or San Juan Bautista, are absolutely authentic and breathtaking.
Yeah, there's some nice. Yeah.
But these also tend to intrude on the story too heavily, giving a travelogish effect at times. So,
well, maybe films didn't quite do location as much back then. I'm surprised they're so forgiving of Jimmy Stewart's behavior. Sort of goes back to maybe it was...
He was off his rocker, man.
Yeah, but that's just after that. But, him being a total dick and controlling,
they
don't seem to have a big problem with that. Maybe it was more acceptable male behavior then.
Very well could have been.
I mean, tough to say.
All right.
Well, anyway, so Ebert reviewed... We got a twofer today.
Two for one. Well,
Ebert give a rather lengthy hindsight review in '96.
All right.
So since it's been so long since we've read anything by Ebert, I thought I should take a look. I'm just going to grab a few things out of here because it's actually a rather lengthy essay. I'll just read the first paragraph, though. I think it sets it up. He starts with a quote from the movie. Did he train you? Did he rehearse you? Did he tell you what to do and what to say? This happens at the final scene where they're climbing a bell tower. This cry from a wounded heart comes at the end of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, and by that time we are completely in sympathy.
Interesting. All right, Ebert.
A man has fallen in love with a woman who does not exist, and now he cries out harshly against the real woman who impersonated her. But there is so much more to it than that. The real woman has fallen in love with him. In tricking him, she has tricked herself.
Okay.
And the man, by preferring his dream to the woman standing before him, has lost both. I don't know about the complete sympathy part.
No.
I mean, I like how in tricking him, she tricked herself. That's true. She
She
fucked herself over by really falling in love with him.
Right.
Probably because she's just sort of, well, we talked about her shortcomings.
Right.
And then he goes on to talk for a few paragraphs about Alfred Hitchcock himself. He talks about the women he put in his films, which I'm not terribly familiar with. He says they were blonde, they were icy and remote. They were imprisoned in costumes that subtly combined fashion and fetishism.
Interesting.
They mesmerized the men who often had physical or psychological handicaps. Sooner or later, every Hitchcock woman is humiliated.
Oh, a little misogyny going on with the old Hitchcock? The Hitch.
He says that this movie is, as far as Hitchcock is concerned, the most confessional of his films.
Okay.
Dealing directly with the themes that controlled his art. It is about, and he puts that in quotes, how Hitchcock used, feared, and tried to control women.
Oh.
And he says, Scotty, the Jim Stewart's character, is in fact himself represents Hitchcock himself, who falls
Crazy.
obsessively in love with an image of a woman, the quintessential Hitchcock woman.
Interesting.
He cares nothing about. He talks about how his control. When he cannot have her, he finds another woman and tries to mold her, dress her, train her, change her makeup and hair. He cares nothing about the clay he is shaping.
Can I stop
He
you
will
for a second?
gladly sacrifice her on the altar of his dream.
I'm going to stop you for a second. Interesting part about the casting. Hitchcock originally wanted Vera Miles to play Madeline, but she had become pregnant and couldn't do the film, and he was like completely like blown over. He was totally, I don't know. So he had to get
He had
Kim
his
Novak.
troubles with women.
He had to get Kim Novak, but it was sort of like Woody Allen sometimes has these obsessions with actresses that star in his film. Like Scarlett Johansson was one of them, so he put her in like 3 or 4 films.
Yeah.
Kind of worked films around her because he's just, I guess attracted professionally, but probably really attracted to the actress, and kind of wants to mold her to his vision. And so Alfred Hitchcock was this way with Vera Miles. So when she had to bow out, he was distraught.
Yeah.
And got Kim Novak, and wasn't really 100% happy with her as the actress, but had to make do, and he molded her to be Madeline. So a little bit analogous there.
Yeah. I mean, I like how this last sentence, I know you were thinking about that, but about how he cares nothing about the clay he is shaping. Maybe that's how Hitchcock felt about Kim Novak.
Possibly, yeah.
He'll sacrifice her
Sure.
to shape her properly.
Yeah, interesting.
And, so I thought that's an interesting thing. I didn't see it first in the film, but I do like that Ebert seems to have seen that. He talks about some of the affectations of Jimmy Stewart. He has some good sentences here. His eyes burn with zealous fixation.
Wow. You sure you didn't read the review beforehand?
No.
Okay.
Judy realizes that Scotty is indifferent to her as a person and only sees her as an object. Which I think is right.
Yeah.
I mean, that horror that she feels, you can feel it.
He treats objects as women, man.
But you can see that horror in her eyes where she's trying so desperately to make it work, and she knows she's nothing but a vessel that he's filling with his ideas. You see that fear on her eyes.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like, what am I letting myself become?
Right.
He talks about, this is the scene where he's really getting her dressed up there in her apartment, where he finally makes her do up her hair, and she's in the gray. And Hitchcock cuts back and forth between Novak's face, showing pain and sorrow, and Stewart's in a rapture of lust and gratified control.
Weird.
That's nice. So that really sums
It's
it up.
almost masturbatory describing that. Yeah.
Okay. And then he talks about that scene that happens right after that, where they're still in the apartment and the camera circles around. As Scotty embraces the remade Maddie, the background changes to reflect his subjective memories instead of the real room in his head. Remember, as it pans around, you see a bit of the inside of that stable.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then back to the apartment.
Exactly.
Anyways, he says, this shot, in its psychological, artistic, and technical complexity, I'm not sure how he did it, maybe the one time in his career, he's talking about Hitchcock, that he completely reveals himself.
Okay.
And all of his passions and sadness. I don't quite see all that.
All right.
It's a nice sentence, though. So just to sum up, he says Vertigo's a great film. And he talks a little bit about Judy's character, which I think is interesting. From the moment we are let in on the secret, the twist, the movie is equally about Judy. Her pain, her loss, the trap she's in. Hitchcock so cleverly manipulates the story that when the two characters climb that mission tower, we identify with both of them. And fear for both of them. And even though Judy is less guilty than Scotty.
Maybe that's
why...
But
you're right, you sort of worry about both of them. Like,
right.
Is Scotty really finally broken? What's he going to do up there?
Yeah, right.
How bad is the manuscript? And then Judy, she let herself go down that garden path too far. She's in serious trouble.
And maybe that's why the reveal comes at the point it does in the film and not later. So we're not in Scotty's shoes, but we're in Judy's for that. We're
sort of in both. I mean, in a way, you identify with the animalistic madness that is masculinity.
Right.
And you deal with the, getting yourself too deep in a terrible situation. You're really fucked up. You let yourself get in too deep, and you can imagine yourself being in some situation where, man, things have gotten out of hand.
And you keep going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
I like that. I hadn't really thought about that. But you're right. We really are worrying about both characters at that point.
I think you're much more astute when it comes to characters in film than I am, because you hit pretty much everything right on the head about Scotty's character being what he is, as far as unsympathetic and sort of driven to his urges. And
yeah, I really wanted to hate him because he lets the animal out.
Yeah,
it's a dangerous thing to let out. You gotta. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the animal's closer to the surface with me, so I think about it more. It's wrangling. I mean, it becomes unconscious most of the time. You just don't let it out, but it's still there, and I sort of am disgusted when guys do let it out.
All right, I'm going to hit a few lighter notes before we finish out here. When they're talking about the history of San Francisco, Midge and Scotty, she makes a reference to gay old San Francisco as being something in the past, which I thought was pretty hilarious.
Yeah. There's words of change.
That's right. Yeah. Because I was watching this and I was like, just think, this is a San Francisco.
This is just before the Harvey Milk stuff. That was in the 60s?
I don't know. That was 70s.
Oh, that was 70s?
I mean, this was a San Francisco before maybe some of the beats, maybe a little Kerouac, a few Kerouacs wandering around.
They're just floating in.
Definitely no hippies. Sort of maybe a nascent counterculture movement.
It's coming. It's coming like a freight train.
The whole gay movement that occurs in the Castro, which was like in the 70s, off the radar, completely gone. That's not even anywhere near being in San Francisco's reality in 1958. And it seems anyway. So she said gay old San Francisco, and I just kind of howled a little bit. I thought that was pretty funny. Another thing, I mentioned it, but our standard of beauty in the 50s was extremely different than it is now.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, Kim Novak she's a voluptuous, sort of well-rounded, unexercised beauty of the 50s.
I guess maybe, I don't know. I don't really find myself particularly matching up with what people supposedly purport as the ideal woman's body. Hairless and incredibly low body fat percentage.
Yeah, little boys, right? But I mean, I'm definitely. I think I would have been much more at home with my attractions in the 50s than I am now, because
there's plenty of beautiful, voluptuous women out there.
I'm a Marilyn Monroe man. That's all I got to say. I'm a Betty Page man.
You like them all drugged up and stupid?
Well, that too.
Look, I know
that.
That's fine with me.
Anyway, but now we get weird, emaciated.
Yeah, they're pretty skinny.
I call it Dachau chic.
Well, I mean, it's not really that way, because usually there's pretty good musculature because there's a lot of working out.
A lot of working out.
The body fat is like about 3 or 4% too low.
It's weird.
People, but the whole thing, there's that one woman that was on the cover of the Sports Illustrated. What's her name?
Oh, well.
She's got a more natural body fat
Really?
percentage. I forget her name. I've seen some pictures of her floating around the internet. She looks pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't really see her abdominal muscles.
Okay.
She's fit, but she doesn't have that real low masculine body fat percentage. I think that really makes all the difference.
Yeah, I'm more of a Kate Winslet more than I am.
It all comes down to body fat. It's just it takes a lot of diet. It's tough.
I know. Anyway,
not everybody can be as svelte as I am.
Damn straight, dude. How do you do it? What's your regimen?
Lots of cheese and breads.
Hear that, kids? So if you
and some DQ, soft serve,
some DQ,
just to top it off.
Let's see. I don't have much other. We've kind of covered everything. Best.
Yeah, I think at
best film
hour
of all time.
24, I think we've.
Oh, geez.
Okay,
yeah, let's cut it. Another note, folks. If you don't want to watch Vertigo, one of my favorite bands of all times did a parody of the film, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was watching Faith No More videos online.
What was the name of the song?
Last Cup of Sorrow. And
yeah, I guess I didn't quite see what they were trying to do when I watched that video.
It's Faith No More, man. You just gotta
look. I like my Faith No More every once in a Well, hardly ever.
It has.
These days.
I got it in the car right now. I don't know. I need good driving music, so Faith No More supplies it.
But they got some good albums.
Yeah, it's a fun video. You can find
they
it
do
on
have
YouTube,
fun.
and it's basically actually the Kim Novak part in the video is played by Jennifer Jason Leigh.
That's who that is?
Yeah,
an
odd
I did
pick.
not recognize that.
I don't know why she would have picked up that job.
Well, that was a long time ago.
97.
Oh, was that 97?
That long ago.
It looked earlier than that.
It's like, hey Jen, you wanna, we're doing a parody of Vertigo in a Faith No More video. You wanna sign up? So anyway, but yeah, it's fun. So for the outro, we're gonna do that. But next week, we can't really talk about it, but we're gonna talk about it anyway. If you haven't guessed it, Fight Club. So one of my favorite movies of all time.
Or How to Make Soap.
How to Make Soap. I love me some Fight Club.
So when you're on a plane and you're getting out of your window seat, do you give them the front or do you give them the butt?
I say you got to get up because I can't get the fuck past you because the seats are too close together. That's how it happens. I don't know what kind of plane they're flying on. I think they're actually in the exit row.
Oh.
But, there's no ass or crotch on any planes these days unless you're not even in first class. If somebody has to get out, everybody gets up. So if you have a sleeping fatso sitting next to you just snoring and you got to wake that turd up, it's a pain in the ass. So I always try to get an aisle seat. But, anyway. So Fight Club next week. And until then.
Bye-bye.